We have some fans being super upset over a photo that has come out recently of BTS. We also have people talking about some of the BTS members at the Tyler, the Creator concert, and people saying that he has exposed something, orientation-wise. And then we have some pictures trending of V that have been pretty shocking to people. So hey Dumplings, this is Dave Disci. Let's get into it. People were very surprised after a recent picture showed V eating a Kimbap roll completely uncut. This was apparently during the Frieze Seoul art gallery thing. The photo showed V having taken a bite out of the Kimbap roll, and essentially it looked like he was mid-eating when a group of people asked him to take a photo. Now obviously he's there to take pictures, so he's going to turn around and take a picture. I wouldn't even be too surprised if he still had food in his mouth and he was just hiding that, because as you can see, his mouth is closed and he's not really fully smiling. The photo garnered a lot of attention for various reasons. One of them, of course, was that he was the only one that was not holding the V sign, because he usually is the one that does it. And that makes sense because his hands are occupied. And of course, people were surprised that he was eating and he was just sort of ambushed like that, right? Not actually, but you get what I mean. People were, of course, shocked that he eats kimbap like this, because if you are unaware, normally it's cut up similar to sushi and it's eaten usually with chopsticks or hands. However, this isn't the first time that V has been seen just eating the roll like that without cutting it. And I will say the previous time that he was eating it like this, it was during a live stream and was during a moment when he was making the roll. So sometimes it's just more convenient to eat it like that than have to prepare it only for yourself to eat it by yourself. And there's no reason to do that. But if you were serving it to a bunch of people, you might cut it up or whatever. So I think around that time when he did that, people didn't think it was strange, like on the live stream. They just thought it made sense, because why even bother wasting a knife when you don't need to? But of course, him being seen eating it like this makes people wonder how often he eats it like this, and or if he cuts it up at all, or if he just prefers to eat it like this all the time because maybe he can get bigger bites. I don't know. I think it's better to eat it this way for sure. It almost makes it like a burrito, which is nice. And while that was shocking and that trended because it was funny, other people were wondering what exactly was the brand of this kimbap. And interestingly enough, they picked one where I believe V is friends with the guy and his face is on it. Now, I don't know if that guy or the friend was the one who created the brand, but he is the face of it. This is a really popular chef in Korea. Of course, it makes sense that he would be eating something from his friend or whatever. But V was also at a party and an opening or press night, which usually has food. They usually leave food out for the guests and for any of the VIP people that are there. Sometimes there are people walking around with hors d'oeuvres, and so it really doesn't necessarily make sense, because did the actual art gallery or the event organizer get food from this company and specifically V's friend? And if they did, the chances that they would be giving food out to everyone in a full roll and not cutting it up is very unlikely. They typically like to cut things up smaller so that they can be finger food, but that they can also be shared among hundreds or however many people that are there. So it makes sense to me that V likely brought it in himself, which of course is crazy, but also very funny. And so if he did that, we actually have no idea what brand this is, unless he said it somewhere and I couldn't find out where. But while that's definitely cute and a funny story to tell, we have less cute and funny stories that are happening. One that involves a lot of people getting really upset at RM and apparently James from the group Cortis. So if you're not aware, RM, J-Hope, and V attended the Tyler, the Creator concert, and while I am sure that V is a big fan of Tyler, I also think that Suga should have been there. And plus, we haven't seen much of him lately, so I wonder he's okay and he's doing well. Yeah, I will talk about the concert and all that stuff a little bit later, but right now I want to get into specifically the fact that all three of them were spotted with James, who is from another group called Cortis. Some people were weirded out, or I guess annoyed, that he was even next to all of them. Of course, there are a lot of people that were calling out clout chasing and all that sort of stuff. One person mentioned that JK would get jealous because James was so close to RM in one of the pictures. Now, this is definitely very interesting because RM is the only one that is the furthest away from James. If you look at the picture, so you'll see that like V and J-Hope are on one side and they are pretty much touching each other. There's maybe like a 1-inch gap between V and James. And then if you look at the other side where RM is, RM had to physically bend to lean in, so he's obviously the furthest away. So that rumor makes no sense to me. But of course, that's not even the strangest part. The real strange part is just the overall thought that JK would be jealous of something like this. I think it's interesting that a lot of people think that they know the boys and that they know them to this extent, when they in fact do not. If you're under the impression that the boys have been in a relationship with each other, which by the way, I don't think it's an impossible idea. Are they? I don't know. But can they physically be together? Absolutely, right? There's nothing physically stopping them. But if you think that they're together and obviously they've known each other for such a long time and they've been together for 10 plus years, do you think that them just meeting one person is going to sever that bond or relationship? I mean, they've literally traveled the world together. And that's a really strange thought, in my opinion, that James, this other person that they've known for such a brief amount of time, is going to be the one that would ruin any sort of relationship that the members would have with each other. Also, given the fact that this is a newer group that likely is looking at BTS as more seniors, and the likelihood of the more rookie group versus a veteran getting together is probably very unlikely. I just think some of these thoughts are a little bit outlandish, niche, and it's very interesting to me because there have been psychological studies that I have read where a lot of K-pop fans, in order to engage in K-pop, feel the need to have this imagination and this story that they build upon themselves to push their love of K-pop. Obviously, this is not everybody, but I was surprised to see that it was a lot more people than I thought it was. There were numbers floating around near the 70% mark. However, I couldn't fully verify how accurate that is. But if we're going by that number, that's pretty insane to me that that large of a community would be people that need to create this narrative and their own narrative. A story that they've made up themselves just to be part of the community or feel close to the members. Since the inception of K-pop, and since I've talked about K-pop on this channel, my whole issue with it is the community that's around K-pop. And I think I'm starting to understand why more closely than I ever did before. I am someone who doesn't even like to drink alcohol because I don't like the feeling of not being 100% sober or 100% aware. In fact, I wish I was more aware sometimes, which is why I drink energy drinks and coffee to try to become more aware. I hate the feeling of being under the influence, having blurry vision, or not being able to think properly, aka living in delusion. And so sometimes I almost double or triple make sure things are not in complete delusion. And that doesn't imply that I never get things wrong, because I get things wrong all the time. But I'm saying that I try to live in this world where I'm not creating a narrative that isn't true, or living in a world that is just delusional, where I'm believing that I am dating all the BTS members and that stuff. And that is something that has driven me to be better. If you're someone who says, okay, I need to date a BTS member, this is my life goal, this is the only way I can be happy, then the only way to do that is have yourself become pretty famous and well known. Do what Hailey Bieber was accused of doing. It's not easy, but it's never going to be easy to date a world-class pop star. So if that's really your only goal in life, then become famous and successful, and then you might have a chance. Let that drive you to contribute to the world and become successful. So I don't understand why not put your thoughts and beliefs into something like that. Instead, people put it into delusion. Many people were talking about V and his sexuality due to the fact that he was at a Tyler the Creator concert. Tyler the Creator has never come out to explicitly say what his orientation was, but it's clear that he has never fit into the mold of someone who is fully straight. The album that he is currently touring is an album from last year, and it's an album that has a lot of LGBT or gay references in there. Songs from the album like Balloon, Noise, and Darling I talk about relationship, monogamy or lack of, and of course queerness, with a lot of people saying that it was an explicit choice for all of the boys explicitly to go to the concert to have this type of messaging or lyrics put into the marketing of it. However, this in my opinion is not entirely Tyler the Creator or the label or the boys themselves admitting to any sort of queerness within the BTS group, but it's more so them trying to experience culture and understand things. Tyler is a big creator and musician, and understanding the culture and the world that surrounds him and what he represents and all that stuff is of course really great. The BTS boys are after all still working on their album and could be looking for features, and this is a great way for them to figure out if this is someone that they want to be part of their album. But even if none of this is true, it's not like there isn't a reason for a celebrity to go to a concert. A celebrity going to a concert or going to an event in general and just being in public is not the same thing that you and I would be doing. Celebrities are not going in public because they want to, and oftentimes they're going in public to be seen that they are going outside. This isn't to say that they are explicitly doing that, but they know that by going outside they are going to be seen. Them going to a concert, especially one with a big name attached to it like this one, is them going and getting attention. So that is of course still very important to note that there are several reasons as to why a celebrity can go to a concert before orientation and sexuality can exist in that conversation. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure you check out Patreon. I'll leave a link at the top of the description. Thank you so much for this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.